What is up? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day, however you're watching, however you followed the show, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, for free on the iHeartRadio app, or you're putting a face to the voice and you're watching on YouTube, in which we are now profitable in right now, all because of you, the listener, you, the viewer. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. So I appreciate everything any supporter has done to watch the show and put a little bit of life, an injection into this show that I created about 8 months ago. So it's been great. Awesome. The support has been amazing. That's not why we're here. It's not a sob story, although I am thankful for everything that's been going on here at the Ben Garcia Show. I know Otter Studio that we're in today, it's obviously my workspace that I work at over at Fox Sports 910 Phoenix, but want to continue to push this content out to the masses. So without further ado, let's get started with our top story right here. So, a gift from the NFL content gods, in which a world right now where there's not a ton of NFL storylines, not a lot of anything. NBA, NFL, I'm not a hockey guy, but hockey isn't out there right now. Big Diamondbacks guy, but not a lot of baseball right now that you can really react to. And I'm not going to pride myself on being a baseball guy. But you know what I am? I am a football guy. And ESPN released a ranking of top 10 quarterbacks in 2024 from executives, coaches, scouts, everything in between. And I'll just read you the list really quickly, and then I'll give you my reaction to the list, because there's a few reactions here. Reaction number one, or I guess I should say, let's read the list first, like I promised I would do. The top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL in 2024, according to NFL executives, coaches, and scouts. Number one, Patrick Mahomes. Again, there's no reasoning for that at this point. We just know Patrick Mahomes is number one. Joe Burrow at number two. Josh Allen at number three. Lamar Jackson at number four. Matthew Stafford at number five. Justin Herbert at number six. CJ Stroud at number seven. Aaron Rodgers at number eight. Jared Goff at number nine. Dak Prescott at number 10. There's a few reactions to this. The first thing I would say is Joe Burrow over Josh Allen. It's tough, because Joe Burrow has beaten him in a playoff setting before, although Josh Allen not exactly been given everything in the world to be able to win multiple playoff games with, but I get it. I'm not going to fight it. I would personally take Josh Allen over Joe Burrow, but anyone that says differently, I will not fight them on it. I don't think it's an egregious take at all. Then you get a little bit further down the list. Justin Herbert's number 6 here. And you're like, can Justin Herbert win a playoff game before we crown him a top 6 quarterback in the NFL? That just feels like a little bit of a stretch. A guy that his only playoff game crippled a 27-point lead at halftime. 27-point lead at halftime. Threw it away. You could say, oh, it's on the head coach. It's got to be better. It's on the defense. Don't let him score that much. Well, score a little bit more than what you did after the first half, Justin Herbert. So the Justin Herbert number 6 is a little rich, although you have to be honest. The tangible eye test talent that you see with Justin Herbert is pretty impressive. Justin Herbert, electric arm, accurate. It's just, sometimes it's tough for me because you have to kind of hold back the Justin Herbert fanboys just a little bit and really say, come on, what has Justin Herbert actually done in the NFL? Which is jack squat to this point right now. CJ Stroud 7, I believe that's deserved. Aaron Rodgers 8, that deserves its whole segment on Aaron Rodgers being the 8th best quarterback in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers has not played a good NFL season until he starts week 1 this year, 3 years. He wasn't great his last year with the Green Bay Packers, and they definitely aren't going to get better after a torn Achilles. Aaron Rodgers is not going to somehow get better after tearing his Achilles. I mean, that's something as well with Aaron Rodgers at number 8. I get it. He's grandfathered in. And then Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, 9 and 10 on this list. But here's what I really want to harp on. 3 guys off this list. One of them, Jalen Hurts, who I felt like should be grandfathered in after making a Super Bowl appearance. Jordan Love hasn't done quite enough yet. I get it, although I am a prime Jordan Love defender. I love, pardon the pun, Jordan Love. I think he's accurate. I think he's a gunslinger. He reminds me a lot of Aaron Rodgers in some ways. Love Jordan Love. Absolutely love Jordan Love, especially what he did in the playoffs last year. Just electric Jordan Love. Boneheaded mistake in that 49ers matchup. Still love Jordan Love. Now here is the prime. Right for the taking. Here is what I believe. The NFL executives, coaches, and scouts who were all polled in this top 10 quarterbacks in 2024 got exactly right. Brock Purdy's nowhere to be found on this list. Brock Purdy is nowhere to be found on this list. I put out a take last week, and I basically said, is there a potential, a thought in the mind of John Lynch, the GM of the 49ers, of Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the 49ers, that maybe we can't get rid of Brandon Ayuk, maybe we can't trade Brandon Ayuk, even though we can't afford to pay him what he wants. Maybe the reason why they're not trading him is because this is the last make-or-break year for the San Francisco 49ers with this core to win a championship. And if that's the case, if that is indeed the case, maybe they feel that if they take away just one weapon from Brock Purdy, it could all come tumbling down. I have been ridiculed. Some of my highest rated videos, my most viewed videos, are me talking about Brock Purdy in the way of 49ers fans just can't live with me saying this. He's good. He's good. Brock Purdy's good. He's not amazing. He's not terrible. He's somewhere in the middle. I'd rank him the 10th to 15th best quarterback in the NFL, that being Brock Purdy. And I had 49ers fans saying, I just discredited this video as soon as you said it. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, it looks like the exec scouts and coaches agree with me, NFL fanboys. Brock Purdy is not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I don't understand, to 49ers fans who cannot understand that it's mostly the talent around the 49ers, not Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is probably not the fifth most important piece on the 49ers offense. It would go probably Kyle Shanahan, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, Brock Purdy. That's where it would go. That is how the hierarchy of the Brock Purdy-led, quote-unquote, 49ers offense goes. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not taking away their ability to potentially win a Super Bowl. They were a few plays away from winning a Super Bowl last year. But 49ers fans just can't help themselves and just can't understand that, hey, maybe Brock Purdy isn't the next coming of Joe Montana. And the execs, the coaches, the scouts, they agree with me. You could point to all the stats you want. Point to every stat you want, 49ers fans. I have eyeballs. I watch the games. He's not particularly breathtaking with the way he plays football. You know who is? Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, Aaron Rodgers, and to a lesser extent, Jared Goff and Dak Prescott. I'd probably leave those two off that list. But the top 8 are all breathtaking in some way in the way that they play football. Patrick Mahomes can deep bomb a ball 50 yards down the field, right in the breadbasket. Joe Burrow, precisely accurate. One of those statue quarterbacks still left in the NFL that can pick you apart. Josh Allen is a linebacker playing quarterback. Lamar Jackson, maybe the fastest NFL player potentially. Cut on a dime? Absolutely the most electric player to watch. Matthew Stafford basically invented the arm angles and no-look passes in the NFL. And Justin Herbert, mesmerizing to watch. CJ Stroud, a rookie sensation that took an otherwise disastrous and projected to be the second worst team in the NFL last year to the playoffs and won a game. And Aaron Rodgers grandfathered in a gunslinger, a guy who nearly coined the term gunslinger. What does Brock Purdy do excellent that no other player has been able to replicate? What has he been able to do? Nothing. Brock Purdy is just exactly that. he's a good NFL quarterback. He's not in the top 4. He's not in the top 5. And according to head coaches, executives, and scouts, he's not in the top 10. And it's what I've been preaching for months, years. And at this point, I feel like I stand victorious here. I don't hate Brock Purdy. Good for Brock Purdy for being able to maneuver himself in the NFL and be a capable, good, and relevant quarterback in the NFL. And man, when the lights turn really bright, he's a tough SOB. But skill-wise, eye test-wise, he's not one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. It's not a hot take at this point. It used to be, but now with the head coaches, executives, and scouts agreeing with me, at some point, you just have to be honest with yourself. The reason the 49ers will or won't win the Super Bowl will be directly correlative on how healthy the 49ers offense is. Will be directly correlative to how well Kyle Shanahan can scheme up an offense. Brock Purdy being elite is out of the question. There's a reason he was picked so late in the draft, guys. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Him not being off this list is not surprising to me. He's a good, capable NFL quarterback. But there's other quarterbacks who are indeed more deserving of this spot. Even Jared Goff. If the 49ers had any one of these 10 quarterbacks on this list that ESPN put out from executives, coaches, and scouts, they probably win the Super Bowl. They probably win the Super Bowl because they have so much talent surrounding that said quarterback that, as well as the increase in talent of the quarterback that would be put on this team, would be able to lift this team to the Super Bowl. It's nothing against Brock Purdy. It's not slight to Brock Purdy. But this notion last year that he was the MVP, or this notion last year that he's a top 5 quarterback, you don't even believe the words you're saying. And the NFL execs, coaches, and scouts have spoken. 49ers fanboys. They agree with me. They don't agree with you. I guess it turns out I actually did watch the games. You know, I talked about this on Saturday on a Fox Sports radio show that I hosted with a friend of mine in this business, and now it is starting to really circle the wagons, circle the drain here. According to Jason Scheer, a well-respected, now Big 12 reporter for the Wildcats Authority is his official plug, Arizona Wildcats beat reporter who are now in the Big 12, very dialed-in, plugged-in guy here, says there is an internal belief in the Big 12 that Florida State and Clemson are likely to join the conference within the next year or so. And it's basically what I was preaching the other day on Saturday. This is going to happen. Whether you like it or not is a whole nother ballgame argument topic of discussion. But at this point, it's going to happen. This is what college football is. And more than any of that, the Big Ten snubbing their nose at Clemson and Florida State because of either academics or they just don't want them. They don't want to split up the piece of the pie again. And the SEC saying, we're good. What are you guys doing? This is your chance to really teeter-totter the scale in favor of you over the SEC or the Big Ten. If you had Clemson and Florida State to the Big Ten, they're better than the SEC and vice versa. And both of them said, we're good. You're not smart enough for our academics. What are you doing? What are you doing? At first, the Big Ten and the SEC blazed this path, blazed this trail of, we're going to be the teams to get out in front of this conference realignment. Snubbing your nose at two prestigious organizations like Clemson and Florida State and letting them wander over to the Big 12 is just insanity. It's not going to cost them their conference, but instead of there being a Big 2, you will always have to incorporate the Big 12. And as an Arizona State grad, so now a Big 12 guy, this is fantastic news. The Big 12 continues to grab a life preserver and hang on for dear life, and then find now a lifeboat and start rowing to shore. That's what they're doing. Because the Big 12 saw what the Pac-12 wasn't doing, saw what the ACC wasn't doing. And Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, deserves so much praise for this. Instead of tucking your tails between your legs, and Oklahoma and Texas walked out that door, instead of crying yourself to sleep, Yormark basically said, yeah, let's get to work. And get to work he did. He allows this conference this year to be viable with all these extra added teams. It's not a lot of quality, but a lot of quantity. And the middle of the pack of that conference is going to be very good. The SEC and the Big Ten are top heavy. And yes, they'll still be better than the Big 12, but you'll have to respect the Big 12 as a Power 3 conference in this said college football world. And I don't think it should stop there. It probably will with those two teams. But I don't think it should stop there. Bring in Miami. Bring in North Carolina and Duke for basketball. Big 12 already is the best basketball conference, bar none. Imagine if you added those two teams, the North Carolina and Duke. It would be the NCAA tournament of the Big 12. That's what it would be. Arizona. Houston's usually pretty good. Duke, North Carolina, Baylor, Kansas. It would be the NCAA men's basketball championship tournament of the Big 12. And then some invitees around the country. It is incredibly smart, and this is the new college football landscape. And Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, has seized the opportunity. He didn't cry and put his tail between his legs when Texas and Oklahoma walked out that door in the middle of the night. They said, that sucks. Now let's put together a roster and a conference that can compete with the Big Ten and the SEC. And if Clemson and Florida State, and who knows, maybe even Miami, come join the Big 12, that is a monstrous grab. It makes the Big 12 relevant, and you can't just kick out the Big 12 if the Big 10 and SEC said, yeah, we don't want the NCAA. Let's just start our own thing. You have to bring the Big 12 along with you. It's not so much little brother anymore. And the Big 12, having Florida State and Clemson, yes, those are the two top-heavy teams. But you can argue 3 through, 16 at that point? 15 at that point? Those teams are all viable, good, rich teams. Rich history teams. And the SEC doesn't have that. You got Vanderbilt and whatnot talking about what they're going to do and just nonsense. It just makes so much sense that the Big 12 are doing this. It's smart, it's proactive, and it's the exact reason why the Big 12 is still in business and will continue to be business, and business will soon be booming because the ACC and the Pac-12 wanted to sit on their hands and snub their noses to the, we're not worried about conference realignment. That's what lost to USC. That's what lost to UCLA, Pac-12. And it's what's going to soon cost you the other two teams in the ACC. And it's going to cost them even more teams when they scramble. And if I was the ACC, any team in the ACC, if I was a fan of Duke or Georgia Tech or whatever, I'd be a fan base begging to join what is the future Big 12. I'm an ASU fan. I used to be a U of A fan. I remember what it was like. I remember what it was like being a Pac-12 member and saying, please get over to the Big 12 as soon as you can. That is the life preserver we need. And a life preserver it now is for the Big 12. And any Florida State or Clemson fans that are snubbing their noses with the, we're not going to the Big 12, you don't have a choice. Because the Big 10 doesn't want you. Because the ACC doesn't want you. And if they don't want you, where are you going to go? You'll become an irrelevant organization. You'll become an irrelevant organization. Recruits won't go to you. Money will then start to dwindle down the drain. And Florida State's the same way. If I'm Dabo Swinney, and if I'm Mike Norvell, I am ecstatic to be able to join this conference with a commissioner that has continued to see around corners, just like the Big Ten and the SEC did. The Pac-12 didn't, and it's gone. It's an embarrassment. It's a joke. Just like that, all those years of tradition, down the drain. Because George Kliavkoff, the Pac-12 commissioner, was a complete and utter buffoon and sat on his hands. And now you see that with the ACC. They're sitting on their hands. They're going to have to react to something that's already happened instead of being the one to start the reaction. And it's what's going to end the ACC. It's what's going to end already the Pac-12. And it's what's going to elevate the Big 12 up to the standards of the Big 10 and the SEC. And I can't wait for it. And it's great for college football. And every Big 12 team that joined them this past year is excited and relieved that they joined the correct life preserver. Because the ACC is down the drain, the Pac-12 is down the drain, and the Big 12 will continue to thrive because Clemson and Florida State will soon be on the move. And the only thing I have to say is I just hope, and the fan in me, I kind of pray that they don't even stop there. They go and get Miami. They try to go get a Duke and a North Carolina. Academics aside, who cares about any of that? That's not the new world of college sports. How much money do you have? How relevant are you? And how rich can you make me? That is what matters in college football. Whether I like it or not, it feels a little icky at times. But life moves on. You can either stand still and be left behind or get on the bus. And the Big 12 and the Commissioner Yormark got on the bus. And for that reason, they're going to be rewarded and not be decimated like the SEC. I'm sorry, not be decimated like the ACC and the Pac-12 are going to be. Thank you so much for tuning into the Ben Garcia Show. I appreciate you making us a part of your day, however you're listening, however you're watching. Spotify, Apple Podcasts for free on the iHeartRadio app, or you're putting a face to the voice and you're watching on YouTube. Thanks so much again for making this show possible. We're starting to now earn dollars. And if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, right? That's what the old saying is. So very excited, very thankful for the support of this channel. And until next week, I'm Benjamin Garcia, and it's been the Ben Garcia Show.